welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing on the court here at the Paycom Center. Just a few minutes after Game 5 of the NBA Finals with Iman Shumpert, 2016 NBA champion. Shump, the Thunder just won probably the biggest game in the history of the franchise since they moved here, and they won by 11. I've got some things to say about it, but I'm going to yield to you because I want to hear what you have to say first.
Well, as good as the Pacers are, with no production from Nembhard, Haliburton, or Mathurin, you're not that deep a team. This team has found ways to stay within 3 possessions all year, all playoffs, and figured it out at the end. But they did so with constant production from those guys, constant production from Siakam. Down the stretch, Siakam didn't have the best ball game. I thought he was off to a great start, but down the stretch, seeing all of those turnovers, and then he got a little sloppy. Not used to seeing that, and there's no way you're going to think you're going to put somebody away playing like that toward the end of the game. Hats off to the Thunder, too, playing small ball. All them defensive principles came back into play.
Shump, they had 27 blocks and steals.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to say that again. They had 27 blocks and steals, 15 steals and 12 blocks. 7 different guys had a steal, 7 different guys had a block. My God.
And I loved it because even when they didn't get the block or the steal, sometimes it was just a deflection. Sometimes it's just a deflection just to rattle somebody. Sometimes it's just messing somebody's dribble up. But they were everywhere tonight. There was no driving room available. Haliburton surveyed. He probed down the baseline. He did everything he could. There was no getting in the paint.
Yeah, there was some passes the Pacers threw that were not good.
Unaggressive.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. If you lose all your angles, if you're a player that leads with aggression, if you lose that angle, 9 times out of 10, there is no pass available. Sometimes you really have to get by somebody to make a defensive mistake. Otherwise, that shell gets really tight. So what we saw tonight was them not only guard guys, they guarded guys left to right so well tonight, but they also did a great job of being in passing lanes, being intentional on defense, and making it to where on offense you had to play defense. They were guarding the ball. Haliburton started his dribble to the side of him. He plays like this. I watched him make 2 or 3 passes where he's on his heels, he's falling back, and it's just unaggressive. And whenever you have that unaggressive attitude, people can smell it. They smell blood tonight. That was wonderful defensive principle.
Well, before we talk about Haliburton more, we have to talk about Jaylen Williams. You know, I came here for Media Day back in September. That photo that everybody sees of Jaylen with his hair totally pulled out.
The Media Day photo.
It was just for Media Day. And he sat there and he talked about how last summer, you know, he had a couple of rough playoff games last year, including a Game 5 here against Dallas. It was 2-2, same situation, 2-2. He wasn't like he was a total dog in that game, but he didn't bring it. And he talked about how tough it was to get himself to watch the film. And he made himself watch the film of his bad moments. And he was really determined to improve on that and get better, and he worked off that film. And by the way, he laid some eggs this year in some big games, including the NBA Cup final. You remember that? They scored 81 points in that game.
I actually don't remember that. I can't dial back to the.
Well, they played the Bucks, and I think they had like 81 or 82 points, if you can believe that. So you look at him now. I mean, he has a 40-point game in a 2-2 Game 5. 40-point game. He's 24 years old.
It was efficient, though. That's what I liked about it.
40 points on 25 shots.
And he did not settle. If you saw it toward the end, they had a bunch of times, I don't know, lead might have been within 9 to 12, something like that. And him and Shea had a couple of possessions where they had it, they getting ready to squeeze, and they're like, nope, I'm driving this. And I'm going to go all the way there. And if you foul me, I'm getting an and one. And I thought them playing Batman, Robin back and forth. And the weird thing was, Shea was Robin.
Like tonight he was, yeah.
He robbing for. We just never saw that. Like, if you see that coming now, going into a Game 6 and seeing how dangerous Jaylen Williams could be, I don't really know what to do besides deny them the ball at the end. You know what I mean? I'm not seeing a game plan that you can do for that. I'm not seeing an available trap. That was just great basketball at the end, taking care of the basketball at the end. They got shot attempts rather than turnovers, rather than having to settle for weird second chance opportunities. This was efficient A to B basketball. And, I just love the way he just did that.
So between the two of them tonight, 71 points, 14 assists. Shea was back to playing pretty much full-time point guard tonight. He had 10 assists after having none the other night. 14 assists between them, 3 steals. They had 7 rebounds.
They got to that line, too. No settling.
26 free throws.
No settling. But that people don't talk about it enough. It's like that makes people unaggressive. That's why the rim's so available. Y'all done got a couple fouls on them. Nobody wants to foul. Everybody hands out the cookie jar now. Free layups. They make you unaggressive.
Yeah.
Keep driving the ball at home, kids. Good things happen when you drive the ball. I don't know why. The basketball guy said so. It wasn't me.
So Haliburton appeared to tweak his calf in the first half. I was talking to some people who were sitting down courtside. I was watching the game on TV. I didn't notice this on TV, but some people who were sitting here courtside said a few times when he drove into the lane, he winced whenever he went to push off that leg. So pretty much the last 2.5 quarters, he was pretty much a ball mover and a floor spacer. He wasn't an attacker at all. I mean, he had no baskets.
Yeah, he wasn't in attack mode at all. But I've seen that time and time again, and in the last 3 minutes, he could turn it up. So I don't know how much of it just wasn't a rhythm. He grimaced a lot, but I also saw him wearing that support on his back. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, he always wears that. He always, when he's on the bench, he's always putting that back thing on. But I don't know how that was.
It was the way to fall. The fall looked pretty bad to me.
Yeah.
That one fall he had, his legs sort of folded over him, stayed down for a second. I didn't see the calf thing that everybody else saw.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I only know what they were showing on the broadcast. He stretched it. It didn't look bad, but obviously if it was already bothering him, they could have done it. But I mean, obviously he's known to have off games. This looked different. He may have been passive, but I think he was also wounded. But look, you're out there playing. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I know what players say. Like if you're out there, you're playing. He's out there, but T.J. McConnell was their best guard in this game.
Without a doubt, and it's tough for him because he just wasn't blessed with the right height to get some of those finishes at the end.
He does have the ability. He has.
He gets where he wants to go.
Yeah, he has learned how to create his own shot where he just sort of creates a space. I haven't looked at, I suspect, I don't know for sure, I suspect there's going to be some second guessing of Carlisle not playing McConnell more in the fourth quarter. By the time he brought him in, it was kind of over. I'm not saying, I'm not really taking a position there because
it's at the end you want to go with your guns.
I agree.
You got to go with your big guns. Like it's tough down the stretch to lean on what didn't get you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's tough because he could be having the game of his life, but any coach would do it. You know what I mean? It's like going back to something that's just natural, like breathing. It's like, of course, I'm going to put my guy in.
Yeah,
is what
it's
I got
game 5 of the finals.
It's tough. Who do you sit? Because if you play them together, like who do you sit?
Well, you called it right. I mean, Nembhard also.
You can't.
This was his least impactful game.
You got to have more impact. You got to at least be getting to the free throw line.
He had some bad passes too.
Unaggressive.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough knifing through with intention. Everybody was sort of like, I don't know, it seemed like they were almost like trying to play where it's like, I'm not hot right now, so I don't want to do too much. And it's got to be something natural that's, whether I'm hot, not hot, whatever, I have to do this for us to continue to. And this is the first time we've seen it from Indiana.
Yeah.
We have not seen this side of them at all. That's what scares me.
Well, they hadn't lost back-to-back games since March. It had been like over 40 games, half the season.
Yeah.
Basically half a season.
I mean, that's other people get involved in a lot of that, but I don't really get involved in that.
Stephen A. is staring at us.
Oh, no, I know what he's finna say. What you gonna say? You said this? You said this already?
Stephen A. he doesn't have enough exposure.
Come on in, my brother.
Stephen A.,
up,
welcome
y'all?
to the Hoop Collective. I think it's your first appearance.
You know, it's my first appearance on here. I don't know why I haven't gotten an invite earlier, but we'll talk about that another time. Brian Windhorst, what's up, man?
Ain't nothing, man. We sitting here talking about how do you get production if you're Indiana if Nembhard, Tyrese Haliburton, and Mathurin don't give you anything.
Well, here's the problem. With Mathurin and Nembhard, they know how to handle the ball well enough to get off a shot and create a shot for themselves. They can't run an offense. They can't run a team. They're not point guards. They don't have that capability. That belongs to Haliburton. And when you look at Haliburton, it was one of, if not the most awful performance we've seen from a point guard in NBA Finals history. Now, in fairness to him, he must be hurt. Yeah. He must be hurt. There's no way that he could look that bad. He couldn't get loose. He couldn't get free. He could barely get a shot off. He looked timid. He looked almost petrified at times. I mean, they were coming at him like that. He had to have been hurt. Yeah. I'm not going to assume that he's scared or anything. He's too big in the big moments for me to ever accuse him of being scared, but he's hurt. And if you're hurt, now we have to look at Rick Carlisle, a Hall of Fame coach,
I know, 34
a great
minutes.
coach.
He played in 34 minutes.
I know that. So it's the 34 minutes. But you also got to take into account, look at how T.J. McConnell was playing. Look at what he did in that third quarter. I mean, the guy was making shots. He got to a point, I think he scored like 9 or 11 straight. You got to keep him in the game when you know two things. Number one, Haliburton is not 100%. And number two, you know you got a game 6 at your home turf on Thursday night. You got to be able to say, yo, you got to sit down. You just don't have it tonight. And I think that Rick Carlisle made a mistake by not seeing that and making that decision.
Yeah, I don't know what he said after the game. We'll find out.
He said that he's not 100%. He said Haliburton's not 100% clearly. Yeah. They talked to him at halftime that Haliburton wanted to continue to try and play, etc. And I'm like, fine. Try him out early in the third quarter. When you see that there is no difference, you yank him.
Yeah.
Especially once you put T.J. McConnell in the game and you saw the way that he was flowing. You got to take that chance.
Especially when you know it's a
Shump was just talking. It's a gray area because you want to trust the guys that got you here.
Well, again, if you're yanking a dude from the game just because he's poor and you're worried about his confidence, I get that part. But you're able to look at him and say, you're hurt. You know you hurt. Sit down. Because you can't move. We want you. Go start treatment right now. We've seen you. We know you. We know this is not you. That's not a confidence issue. You know this better than me. You tell a player that, listen, go back there and get some treatment. You ain't healthy. That player is not going to have his confidence affected because he knows, I'm not healthy. I'm hurt. I tried to work through it. I tried to play through it, but I couldn't. Coach made me go out there, let me get ready for game 6. That's all he had to do. He should not have capitulated to Haliburton's wishes once you saw how T.J. McConnell was playing and you knew that Haliburton was hurt.
Yeah, especially because McConnell was arguably having one of the games of his life.
Yes, the best game of his life. I mean, the best game. I've never seen T.J. McConnell play like that.
I don't know if you were watching.
He had 3 inches of height to finish at the end.
Right.
At the end, he could have closed that game with a little bit of height.
I don't know if you guys were watching the broadcast. TJ looked like he was a caged animal.
That's right.
Looking over at Carlisle.
Yes.
Like he was red.
We can see it.
He was red.
We were sitting up there in the suite and I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it because you just saw his head. And, you know, he wants it bad. And when you're a role player, and you're on that kind of a role, on the absolute biggest basketball stage, of course you're looking at the coach like, coach, because you're saying to yourself, not only am I rolling, but your man is hurt. We all know it.
And I could pick him up.
You know,
right now.
and then listen, I know Haliburton is a relatively young player, and I'm going to put most of it on Rick Carlisle in terms of that specific decision. But what about you saying, yo, man, coach, you see the way he's playing?
He's rolling.
He's rolling right now. He's rolling right now, coach. Go with that. You know, you can do that as a player, you know.
You know, we had Deli.
You can.
You know, we had Matthew Dellavedova.
Yeah.
Boy, everybody was hurt or everything was going wrong. We just didn't have it. And Deli just started firing off threes, and we rolled with it. We started running plays
sort of
for him.
Similar,
It's the exact same thing, but it's what he said. When you see that happen, all bets off.
All bets off,
especially
especially on the biggest stage. Especially on the biggest stage.
Give me as much as you can.
No matter how young you are, Haliburton is not a rookie. And not only that, you closed out Milwaukee. You closed out Cleveland. You closed out New York. You closed out OKC in Game 1. You've done enough in your postseason career to be able to say, Coach, not only do I not have it tonight because I'm not 100%, but look at what my man is doing.
I'm not sure.
Let's play him.
I get it. It's interesting. I'm not sure they're beating Jaylen Williams and Shea tonight.
I'm sorry?
I'm not sure it would have mattered.
Okay, I'm not saying. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. With all due respect, they're up 15.
They cut that.
TJ comes in the game. They go on a roll. They pull within 2. You can't say that, Wendy. They pull within 2 points. They pull within 2 points.
And they turned it over
with 7 to 6 minutes left. Yes, you had a chance.
Definitely a chance.
He had 1 turnover down the stretch. Who else had the other 2 turnovers?
Nemhard had a couple.
Nemhard had a couple.
2 back-to-back.
I think Mathurin had 1.
But it's like you take away those. It's a different ball game. They got some easy ones.
I'm just saying they might have lost the game because the way Jaylen Williams was rolling and the way Shea can get rolling. We all know what they bring to the table. 71%, 71 points, 62% shooting. What is it in game 4? And then they come out here. And what do? They shoot, 62%, 48% shooting, 62 points combined. This is what they did over the last 2 games. So we know they're rolling. Wiggins and Wallace coming off the bench, hitting some threes in the first half. All of those things were helpful. You get a 15-point lead. You got everything rolling. Haliburton is looking awful because he's not healthy. And still, with about 7 minutes left or so, you are within 2.
Unbelievable.
You cannot ignore that. You have to look at a guy like a T.J. McConnell and say, because Haliburton is hurt and he couldn't do anything, we going to roll with this kid.
Yeah, and it was exacerbated by the fact that Nemhard wasn't great and Mathurin was terrible.
He after 27 points, I think that Mathurin, that's a mental thing. In game 4, what does he do? He misses 3 or 4 field goals. He gets 2 off, he gets 2 called for 2 off fouls off of inbounds. In the last, he caused like a 5-7 point turnaround in game 4. I think he was feeling that, came in here anxious to prove. I thought it would work to his advantage and he would be effective, but he was pushing. He was pressing too much, trying to make up for what happened in game 4, and he didn't have it.
Thank you for stopping by. Juvie and Sumatra, you're 2 of the most important people in your life are waiting for you. So I don't want to hold you up anymore.
No problem.
Alrighty.
All right, y'all.
Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Touch the ring one time. There you go, bro.
Got you. All right, y'all.
By the way, there was an amazing moment before the game where you brought your ring.
Oh, yeah.
Because you didn't bring it earlier, and you went home and you got it.
Yeah, I went and grabbed it for y'all, man.
And Channing Frye came over. Whenever there's a 2016 Cav, and you're another 2016 Cav, it's always a special moment.
Real talk.
So Channing Frye's on the NBA TV staff, and he came over before the game, and you embraced him, and he knocked your ring off onto the ground.
It's so it's crazy because we have these handshakes that we did with the 16 team.
And you still remember him.
Well, we were getting ready. We were like in between doing it and not doing it, and just went for embrace. Like you just hug, but we got a little overexcited. But Channing's hands are a lot larger than mine, and it's like he just wiped it off my just like took it all off for us.
Man, listen, all these champions who are working with us here, you and UD and RJ and Danny Green, I love you guys bringing your rings around. I know it's probably not.
People ask me why I got the pinky. See, I planned for the 2017 one to be right here.
Yeah.
And then KD happened.
Tim Bontemps is joining us.
I like the planning though, Shump.
Yeah, I planned it out, man.
Tim,
I'm like,
you were just in the locker room area. Stephen A. really thinks that either Haliburton or Rick Carlisle should have just pulled Haliburton.
I heard a little bit of what Stephen A. was saying when I came over before. I mean, look, it's hard to argue. I mean, the guy took 1 shot in the second half. The Pacers were dramatically better when T.J. McConnell was on the court. I mean, the game turned in the third quarter. It was 20-0 in bench scoring in the third quarter, primarily because of T.J. McConnell. And when you texted me in the third quarter, Brian, said the Pacers took out Haliburton and put in a scorer, and it changed the game. And it just put a lot of pressure on the Thunder. And, you know, I mean, look, if Haliburton's hurt, that's fine. But if he's out there, then he's got to be able to produce. And he was pretty much invisible in this game. Took 1 shot in the second half, 0 for 6 in the field. The Pacers aren't winning games in this series if Haliburton's doing that.
Like, we've been talking through it. On one hand, I said it's a gray area, but maybe really it's not a gray area.
Well, it depends on how much they know about that calf. Like,
well, that's true. You're right,
if it's that bad, they know something in that locker room, and they got to protect him a little bit too, because you don't want him in the mental space that he feels like I got to pull out more. And anything, as you guys know, calf, hammy, That's tough.
Yeah.
No, it's just you can't. You
Bob
can't just
Myers
play through a
move.
muscle injury.
Yeah,
You
you
just
don't
can't do
have
it.
breaks.
Bob Myers said at halftime, he was like, "This is tough, man." Now, I don't want to put words in Bob's mouth. I haven't talked to him yet, but obviously, he played a guy, or he didn't play him, but the organization played a guy with a calf injury.
Yeah, think about Game 5 in 2019 when Kevin Durant played and ended up tearing his Achilles. Like, that's what you think about. And look, at the end of the day, though, this game, I was listening to Mark Daigneault, coach of the Thunder, got asked about Jaylen Williams and the growth he's had over the course of the year. And early in the year, there were some times when Jaylen Williams was struggling, and there was some criticism of the way he was playing and whether he could be the guy they need him to be as the secondary scorer to Shea. I mean, we talked about it a lot on the pod, as Brian knows this year. And Daigneault said at the time he praised him for the aggressiveness he showed at the time and talked about the fact that it would pay off down the road. And you saw in this game, I mean, the Thunder won this game because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jaylen Williams carrying them home. Again, in the way Tyrese Haliburton did not for the Pacers. Pascal Siakam was great.
Yeah,
the two stars on the Thunder were great. Haliburton was not.
Had a terrible fourth quarter in Game 4, and he had a killer fourth quarter tonight.
No, he's the only reason they were in the game. I mean, he was great. And whenever he gets a mismatch in this series, he completely tears it apart. You know what that's like when you got a guy who can take a mismatch like that inside. Totally has taken advantage of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Casey Wallace or any of these smaller guards when they get on him in the post. The Pacers do a great job of finding them. But at the end of the day, it's a 2-point game with 8.5 minutes to go, and they just start getting turnovers and scoring buckets left and right.
I'm not convinced that they're beating the Thunder on this night anyway.
Well, look, it was a 2-point game, and the Thunder miss a shot and get an offensive rebound, and then all of a sudden it goes from 2 to 7 in about 25 seconds.
Guy with a ring.
All
these guys with rings around here.
So it was right there, and the Thunder made sure it didn't go the other way. And now we'll see what happens on Thursday.
I don't think Jaylen and SJ were letting them lose.
What'd you say?
I don't think they were letting them lose.
Oh, I mean, he was unbelievable.
I've sort of talked my way through this, and I get what Stephen A. said. I'm listening to what Shum said. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I think I'm.
Well, both things can be true.
I just don't want anybody to forget about Chet.
Okay.
Chet shot the ball bad.
Shot the ball bad all series, but yeah.
But I mean, the little chippies is the ones that I want him to make around the rim.
Yep.
But his effort tonight was contagious. His ability to switch on the guards over and over and over and get stops. He altered shots at his height.
Yeah, they did an unbelievable job, Chump, at the rim all game. All those guys. Shea had 4 blocks. Chet had 3.
And sometimes they didn't get the block. They just got a guy to and then throw it to make a bad shot go up. And I want to acknowledge him because he's shown so much growth through this series. Like his 11 rebounds, him using only 3 fouls. Like it's not going to get talked about, but it's so important. Like the 3 block shots, the ability to do that, get your second attempt, and then say, you know what, I don't have it. Let me kick it out and give Jaylen and Shai another chance to go at it. It's not going to get talked about a lot because you got 40 points and 31 points with Shai responsible for another 10 assists, so that's another 20 to 25 points. Man, Chet Holmgren, I know he didn't shoot it well all series, but his growth is showing more and more because you're starting to see I see it all the time with this when they do the flexing. Jaylen Williams over and over, you're seeing it. It's happening more and more.
And it's funny you talk about that because after Game 1, when Chet was awful in that game, when they let it go at the end, he sat right over there on this court at media day a couple days later, and he said, I have to make sure that I focus on doing everything but scoring.
Yep.
And if I'm not making shots, I can't let it get in my head.
At all.
And if I do those other things, the scoring will come. And that, in the games since then in the series, for the most part, that's exactly what he's done. And look, like you said, he's 4 for 15 today. He's missing a lot of shots at the rim. He's struggling a lot. But what does he do? He's sprinting back. He's getting into play. He's getting rebounds. He's blocking shots. He did all the other stuff. And the other stuff is why they won this game. When it got tight at the end and this crowd was panicking, they were in a lot of trouble. And, I mean, Shai and Jaylen hit shots, but they also got run-out dunk, steal, transition bucket because they started doing the Thunder defensive stuff, and the Pacers couldn't handle it.
Also, major bounce back. The Pacer bench actually outscored the Thunder bench, which is the first time the losing team had the bench scoring, mostly because of McConnell. But major bounce back games for Aaron Wiggins and Casey Wallace.
Casey Wallace especially. Yes. Casey Wallace was 0 for 8 from 3 in the series before this game. He hit 2 big threes in the first quarter, immediately comes in, hits some shots. You could see it get some confidence back in him. And I mean, obviously he started the first couple games of the series, a hugely important player for the Thunder. And again, the Thunder got into their whole thing of, you know, Caruso blowing up plays, Case and Wallace blowing up plays, Wiggins making shots. Like, it turned into the full team effort we see from them when they're good.
Wiggins and Caruso. I'm sorry. Wallace and Caruso had 8 steals between them.
Yep.
Yeah, 4
Wiggins
apiece.
and Wallace had 7 threes between them.
They were 7 for 11 from 3 between the two of them. The Thunder were 3 for 17 in Game 4 total.
That's what's supposed to happen, right? The role players at home. That's what you're supposed
Without
to.
a doubt. Without a doubt. You want them to be inclusive, but you never want them to force. And the thing that's so great about OKC, Caruso, Wiggins, Wallace all manufacture points off of just energy on defense.
Yeah.
They make it to where your floor is unbalanced when they take off on the breakaway. Somebody makes a mistake. They're always shooting an inside-out 3, a layup at the rim.
Yep.
They're attacking a closeout. It's an efficiency game with them.
Well, and plus 25, or plus 23, I should say, in points off turnovers. 23 turnovers for 32 points.
I mean,
That is the formula. To your point,
The
8
stats-
steals off the bench. That's what they do all season.
The 2 stats are just unbelievable for a finals game. 32-9 in points off turnovers. It is just unheard of.
Yep.
And then
Well,
I
he
said
had
this.
9
I said
points
this. I said this earlier. 15 steals, 12 blocks, 27 stocks.
I mean, just defensive playmakers all over the place.
God.
And that's the thing. Like, it was fitting the way the game ended, because the Thunder did what the formula that led them to win 68 games, have a record-setting point differential, got them within now 48 minutes of the first championship in the franchise's history, right? It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jaylen Williams scoring points left and right, and it's all these other dudes plus them making plays all over the place on defense and turning the other team into a mess with the ball. Like, that is the formula at both ends that has them on the verge of a title, and they got it done in the fourth quarter with that tonight.
We got to wrap this up, but I think in the next 48 hours, Tyrese's leg will be a huge story. I don't know if we're going to get information on it, but
well, look, here's what I'll say: if he's going to go 0 for 6, or if he's just going to take even 6 shots in Game 6, the series is over. Like, Tyrese Haliburton can't be aggressive and can't be aggressive scoring, which we've talked about the whole series. When he's scoring 20 points, they're a totally different team. I don't see how they're winning a game in this series. Like, the Thunder have led 141 of the 144 minutes here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And it's been basically a toss-up in Indiana, and that's with Haliburton playing well. So he's got to have a really big game if they want a chance at Game 6.
I think they could do it with the Indiana crowd. I low-key think we're going to see a Game 7. I don't know how they're going to manufacture. I just know
they
Andrew
still got to
Nembhard
109.
and Ben Mathurin have to step up.
Their key is 111. That's their. And they got to have 111. Wouldn't have got it done tonight if they got one more basket.
He loves that stat.
But if they
every playoff jump, Brian has a stat that it's one or the other, and he says it every game. It's a different stat every year, but he's got a stat.
Sorry,
that's
if
a stat this year.
Continuing to be correct. All right. Thank you to Bontemps. Thank you to Shump. Thank you to our special guest, Stephen A. Smith. Thank you for Perk for walking by.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you to Jackson and Rafa and Blair.
And hopefully we got Shai go by, MVP go by. That's awesome.
You walked by.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got in the shot, but went by.
Hopefully he got in the shot, man. But, it's just another day on the court in the finals. That's all.
No kidding.
Just another day.
The smoothest silk all the time, SGA.
Just talking ball. That's all.
All right. We'll be talking to you later this week on the Hoop Collective.